All right. Well, welcome back to Apolitical. My name is Myron Joseph Douglas. I have some interesting ladies here from the political world in Arizona. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves a little bit, and we'll kind of go into some details, some questions, some of their expertise and what's going on in the current political environment. And then my co-host Corey Foster will jump on, and also Brian Watson as well down the road. Well, first of all, ladies, I'm gonna let you guys introduce yourselves. So I'll let you, which one would like to go first?
I'll start. Good evening. My name is Leah Landrum Taylor. I'm a former senator here in our state. I served in the legislature for 16 years. Those in my district gave me that great honor to do so. And happy to be here on your show this evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kiana Maria Sears, current governing board member, which means school board to most people. That's what we know it for. Again, Kiana Maria Sears is my name. Of course, as somebody who's in the political arena, I have my background up. So right now, running for re-election in the largest school district here in Arizona. Very interested in politics, actually, and by profession, a Master of Public Administration. So I'm really proud to be with Senator Leah Landrum Taylor, because actually when I was an intern in the legislature and interested in even thinking about running for office, I was able to sit down and have a talk. So I said, one of the things that's most important, that we build legacy and that we encourage the future generation to get involved. So thank you, and I look forward to the conversation tonight.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming on once again. We appreciate it. So I'll kind of open up the political conversation here and kind of get more in depth. First of all, I want to thank you all for being great political leaders in the state of Arizona, because we need more people of color, and it's exciting to see a lot of women of color running as well. So this is an exciting time. Let me ask you this. So right now at the moment in time, we're going, what's going on in the presidential election, and Kamala Harris running as on the Biden ticket as well. How do you guys feel for a potential first vice president woman of color? I mean, that has to be another icebreaker, just like when Obama ran for president, became president. But from a Black woman perspective, tell us how you feel about that. Like, I mean, you guys in the political realm, you guys are, you're out there doing your thing, we're going, the community, but how's that feel to see Kamala be a VP possibly down the road?
Well, I will say that it is, we know, as many have stated, it's a historic sight and chance for everybody to have a chance to see this. But I will say that, throughout the test of time, African American women have been very strong about getting out and voting and working hard for their various communities. So it's not a secret, it's not a shock or a surprise that we would have someone of her caliber to have made it to this level. She and I actually were Rodell Fellows together. We were in the same class, and we went through that program for 2 years. And having had the opportunity to know her on a personal basis was it was a good thing, to really see that human side of individuals that are trying to do the right thing. Today, she did have an opportunity to visit here in our state, and I was blessed to have had a chance to sit down and to meet and talk with her about some of the things that are very important here within our state, knowing that she gets it and has a full grasp of what's important to our community, whether it's dealing with the educational system, dealing with our justice system, dealing with things that are very important to economic growth across the board. To me, it's just high time that we had someone that shows the true reflection of what our country is really all about. And to know we have that strong diversity, and then to have this occur, absolutely. So we know now we've had our first African American president that has sat in that seat. So now, why not have that vice president come in and be a Black woman and also part of one of the Divine Nine?
Nice. Yes. What about you, Kiana?
Yeah, I'm definitely totally inspired and concur with the hard work and determination that has historically been a part of, especially the Democratic Party when it comes to African American women being the backbone, being the heavy lifters, being the organizers, being the fundraisers, being the ones that actually re-engage the community on a serious way and be really the grassroots organizers that keep the engine running. So when I think about that, I often think about how so often we forget about Shirley Chisholm and just being the pioneer from that. So and look how long it's taken us to recruit and come back to a point where vice president is going to become a reality. So I'm saying we've always been here, we've never gone away, we've stayed in the trenches, and just really historically from city to city, state to state, done the work. So it's a well-deserved. It's not something that's being given or awarded or tokenism. It's actually we put in the time, and it's something deserved. And I believe our community has demanded of us that we do better by Black women, because historically we haven't. And I want to say, if you look at 2016, when you had nine Black women in Alabama step and say, we're taking the criminal justice field by storm in Alabama, which is historically the bedrock of civil rights. They're like, no, the incarceration's too high, what's happening to our children is too high. So we've been, this is nothing new. Just high time that finally recognition is coming back around with, just really being a light on what we've worked so hard for up to this point.
Yeah, the history of the African American woman has been the backbone of voting, and let's be honest, the backbone of a current democracy right now. Without the Black woman vote, I don't think America would be safe, will even come out of the situation it is now. And don't get me wrong, I think, the African American male vote has some value, but, at the end of the day, like my mom always said, she said, you know what, African American women, we're wives, we're mothers, we're daughters, we're sisters. So when we vote, it's a different experience for us, right? Where for us as men, and Corey, you can add that to your comment as well regarding, African American men voting, it's more of a, what they're doing for me, what they're doing for my community. And I think we have the same outcome, the same objective, but it is a little bit more personal with African American women. Corey, what you think? Regarding African American males, in regards to African American women voting as well.
On both topics, I think in terms of males, it was excellent years ago, a few years back, to see Obama and to give hope, because there was a lot of times where as an African American male, you didn't see yourself at the highest seat to be commander in chief of the USA. And so to see that happen and to see people be more inspired, do more, get involved. We saw what happened with Trump when we didn't have any African Americans engaged, where people took a step back and we paid for it. And I think now moving forward, people are trying to get more engaged, get back on top. I think it's one of those things that's important for our community and for males to see themselves in that opportunity, and to see themselves as change makers, and to be a part of the process, the political process, no matter where you are locally or nationally. In terms of women voting and being more engaged in the process, I think it's like I echo what was said before. It's about time, and I think women have been the backbone of the local agenda for a long time. If you go into the majority of the communities, you will see a lot of strong women leading the fray in terms of state positions, county positions, city positions. It's very, very common to see that, and they will not get the recognition that they deserve for serving on the local front. So to see them now on the national front is exciting. It's amazing. It's inspiring, and also it's a day of reckoning, because there's not a single Black woman who was held in office who did not hold everybody accountable for their actions. And so to see that the reckoning would happen on the national level is inspiring, knowing that you got somebody like our VP that we have up there that's running. You have someone who you know is going to hold everyone accountable from all the departments, particularly the Department of Justice, having our background in that. That's something that is a reckoning that we look forward to seeing. And it's nice to finally see women at that national level, and also to have that support. There have been some who've been in there for a number of years, and they've been fighting the good fight by themselves. And so it's nice to see it on that level. I'm not satisfied with the idea of her being just a vice president. I do hope this is a springboard for her to run for president and during the next term. I hope that's possible for her. In terms of looking at Biden's age, there might be some concerns. They're just natural concerns, not saying he's inadequate, but just natural concerns. And so I hope that she continues this fight, that she doesn't level off at this point and say, hey, I did it, and kind of become an academic and become just an inspiration around the country. I hope she continues to run and to be president of the United States one day.
Myron, can I comment on one point that you said, Corey, that I think is very telling? And when I talk to young professionals who are looking at politics, I always talk about the game and the game being changed. When it comes to females, I use a football analogy, a football field. A lot of times the field with males, it's about winning at all costs. Just running down the field, making the goal, doing it well, we won, and it's a we won versus them. When you get women on the field, it's almost like doing Tai Chi. But what happens if you look at Congress, you have one woman, because Tai Chi is a sport where you use the opponent's energy against them, right? Your power is in what you do. So, but when you have one woman who's on the field, if they start running her with men, you got the police, even if she's gonna do Tai Chi, put her on a helmet. So when you start getting more and more women on the field, then you change the game. And then you can't actually run the same plays when you have more women on the field. So I really know that it's about that support, and we have to continue increasing those numbers at, like you said, those national levels in Congress. It's when we get parity in Congress, I know we'll see a total shift in what's happening in our nation, because we know, and COVID has shown us, that worldwide, when it comes to crisis, pandemics, or any other situations, and you have women at the helm, we're gonna have better solutions. Our mayors women are coming up with better solutions when our governors are failing us, and also national, when you look at global leaders. It's the women who are in charge of countries that have the better results when it comes to COVID and how the pandemic is being handled.
And let me just kind of go into that. That's a perfect segue, because we are seeing more African-American women and women of color running for political office, if it's local on a national level. But for you all that, that cross that path or in politics currently, like, what is the top 3 challenges you guys faced or facing right now regarding being a woman of color in politics? Because, it's different for Black men. Not saying we don't have our challenges, but being a Black African-American and being woman, that's a little bit more challenging as well. Like, what's the top 3 that you guys, opportunities or challenges that you guys face or been facing?
Well, I'll say that, there was a time in serving in the legislature, and certainly I remember, as Kiana had pointed out before, when she was doing interning and things like that. And one of the things that I would look at as sometimes as a challenge, but turn it into an opportunity, is being able to mentor others and do everything within my power to try and help them be able to get there. Because one of the things we have to understand is we're not going to be in our seats for forever. We have to make sure that we are building that bench, and that's important. But I will say that as looking around, there were times I'd look around the room, and it wasn't hard to see that at one point I was the only African American in the entire Arizona state legislature. So when you look looking at that and then seeing what our population is, close to 5% of African Americans in our state, and then just to have one in the whole Arizona legislature, I looked again as an opportunity. And so from there, that's when I started having the African American Legislative Day conferences that were held at the Capitol and still held to this day. But I remember the very first time I did it, and those colleagues, looked around and they said, what do you mean an African American state legislative day? It's just one of you. What are you going to do? Get out there and be you, yourself, and you, and talk to yourself, or what's going to happen? And as I looked around again, turning that challenge into an opportunity and inviting people from across the state to learn about the process, and understanding that just by myself, I couldn't do anything, but together with my community and others, then things could get pushed forward that were important to our community and community as a whole. One of the things that I did also notice as a challenge of being the only one is when we put legislation forward, it's legislation that's going to help people in a very broad perspective. So issues that I've worked on in the past, dealing with kinship care to help out with grandparents raising grandchildren, this was something that could help with anyone who was in that certain predicament. So I think just overall, some of the things that we may look at as a challenge, but turn it into that opportunity, that's a strong key. So yeah, it's not about complaining or anything like that. It's about what do we do? So after the African American State Legislative Day Conference, I wanted to make sure that there was something permanent. And that's why I pushed for a piece of legislation that did become law, and that was the establishment of the African American Commission, so that no matter what, there would always be that presence and always be that entity there to focus on the concerns of African American community in various areas of concentration. And that's still going on to this day. So we just, again, turning those challenges back into those important opportunities that we can have. You may be the only one, but you're not the only one at the same time. So that's one of the things that I looked at. And so again, now that I turn around, as I had opportunity today talking to many different folks that were out running, it warms my heart to know the numbers of folks that are running for various state legislative seats, state Senate seats. They're out there, school board, they're out, city council. I mean, the numbers are just growing and growing, statewide seats, whereas before we did not see as many folks. And for numbers of reasons, whether it's because they couldn't get the funding and get people to support them. That's something really important, that when people are running, we got to make sure we're supporting them through work and hard work and volunteerism and every kind of effort. And certainly there were times where it was really hard to run in any place throughout this state, except for in a couple of pockets of town. And I know, and Kiana teases me about it all the time in a conversation we had back in the day, because it was hard running in her area. And I said, well, if you ever want to run, you might want to move to another area where you can get it quick and then, do what you got to do. However, I admire the tenacity of her and others that said, we're going to keep on pushing. You have our mayor and Flagstaff, Coral Evans, a lot of folks that are just breaking the ceiling. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's good to know, because I think people need to hear that story. People need to hear that message, because sometimes in the community, we just see what we see on television, right? We don't know the processes in the background that you just explained perfectly. That, wow, okay, now see why it's important to have representation on a local level, because I'm planting a seed for other potential people of color to run in the future. I'm setting the platform, the template for them to follow so they can be successful, right? And Kiana, what's been some of your challenges? I think Leah did it, really gave a good, heartful explanation. What about some of your challenges? They may be different or even the same.
I always say that I'm a transformational leader, always have, kind of get a bit of rebellion and against the machine in myself from my father's side. So when I came to Arizona and knowing that Mesa was one of the last cities to even enter into negotiation about MLK Day, that's kind of where my interest in the city lies, because I come from a family that believes in occupy everywhere, it's ours. Our ancestors worked for it. So when I became somebody in the political arena, one of the things that I would hear often is, oh, we never had any Black people specifically elected in Mesa doing this and doing that. And I was like, okay, if there's not support because we never had it, we won't have it. So just really getting, because sometimes we always say you have to see it to believe it and achieve it. I think that's a great thing, but sometimes if it's not there and it don't exist, then you have to be it, right? And that's very much what I've told my children. When you see there's an obstacle or there's an issue, be a part of the solution, very much like Leah was saying. So, okay, we haven't had African-American or a Black person in the school board. I remember going out, mustering support, thinking I was gonna support somebody else. And one day it was like, okay, I'm who I'm looking for. Like, I'm gonna do this no matter what. And then after I had done a whole bunch of research. So I knew the odds were against me, but at the same time, I knew that being the largest majority district, that it mattered. But I think one of the things that shocked me most of all, especially as a Black woman, how often the responsibility of what you do and the accountability is so much higher for the Black woman, for not just for the opposition, but people who are on your side or people who are supposed to be on your side, people I'm gonna hold you accountable. I'm like, you haven't been to one school board meeting. What are you holding me accountable to? Like, what are you talking about? And just like physically, the demands of what we do and the stakes are so much higher for the Black woman, the demands, the asks, and we are already the hardest workers on the planet. So it really just kind of blows my mind that there's such a difference in people who serve and what the expectations are. And I see it every day when I talk to fellow women, especially Black women who serve in there. They're like, you know, it's like they expect after Jesus, then the Black woman. That's it. So when I see it, I'm just like, this is something that we have, that we're, you know, we are superheroes, but we still have our humanity. So that's one of the things that I tell, especially the Black woman, we have to watch self-care, because just the expectations are just so high in terms of when it comes to Black women. And I really think we should band together and do more support, because we have all that expectation, but the level of support is so much lower. So it's like all the expectations way up here, but the level of support is one that, because we don't understand. There's not an invisible machine running any campaign for Black women. Usually it's the mom, the dad, the kids, all the friends you can rope in. And when you see those signs on the street, that represents usually a Black woman getting her hand bloody, doing most of that work herself, because that's what it takes.
Hey, and I also wanted to welcome Brian Watson, my co-host here. Brian's good to see you. You just got through voting, is that right?
I did, and it was an exceptional experience. I got a round of applause in the voting center over in South Mountain, right? South Mountain Medical Center. Voted there. South Phoenix. Represent through your vote, because that's the only way to do
it. Right. Nice.
That's right.
Wakanda forever.
Yeah.
Well, and guys, chime in as well regarding some of the content that the ladies are providing. But this is really good, right? I don't think a lot of our community understands the challenges that our sisters in politics go through. Like, Kiana said, hey, you see those signs out there? It's by me, myself, and I. maybe my family came in, but guess what? I gotta still go home and cook. Still gotta go home and be teacher. I still gotta clean the house, and you know, I still gotta look good when I step outside. Am I right, ladies?
You know, Myron, I admire what's being said because it's absolutely true. I'm from Wisconsin. I've been here 4 years, and I can say I worked for a state senator in Wisconsin, and she was one of the first as well to kind of hold a seat. And it's a high expectation for any woman of color to be. I mean, any African American woman to say like the African American woman to be holding a seat. It is very. It's a. You can do no wrong, and everything you do wrong, it's like all hell and broke loose. If you make a mistake, if you miss something, or you was on the wrong side of an issue, the community make you pay. But then also there's even more backlash with their colleagues and committees and different events and different things. One of the things you said on there about education, I think is important about like teaching people what to do. Because a lot of folks have no idea, like, how do I support you? They'll say, oh, support is coming to a rally, coming to an event, or you showed up, the community showed up and you were there. And they think that that's it. All right, I did my due diligence and I paid my tribute so I can go back to really living my lives. But not knowing that, no, there's a financial commitment because many of those campaigns are hard fought and the opposition is high. And not having that financial background that they need to say, hey, we need to push our campaign, or if they want to move for a different office. So we see that the community just need to know exactly how to support, not just coming to a rally or me showing up at your event or your church or community happening. It's that in terms of the supports that our African American women need, in terms of financial support, joining the campaign, responding to the literature, understanding the different walk lists and getting people out, just a whole political process. How do we win and secure seats, secure more seats? It is a process. And I think some of that education, I know you talked about that, like how do you make sure you educate people, because it's difficult to do. Because on one hand, when you're out, I've seen women out trying to educate people and they think that, oh, you got an alternative motive, or there's some other agenda. Are you trying to go to something else? It's like, no, just teaching people, hey, here's what to do, here's what to support. And one of the things I saw too is hard for women in politics is like when people disagree, and it's like when they disagree, they just want to hold a grudge to the black woman when she disagrees. And it's something I've seen. Like it's like on this issue, this is just where she stands on this issue. But there's still like this, I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I see you. Every time I see you, I'm gonna bring this up every chance. I'm gonna take a punch at you every time I get, and then my cousin's gonna take a punch, and my uncle gonna take a punch. It's like this flat out assault on the black woman for taking an issue, but having an opinion that's different from maybe her constituents. And so I think that's the other part of the education too, is that they are human, they are people, they are different, they are you elected them to represent you. And what does that really mean? Letting them represent you versus feeling like I gotta call you and I gotta make sure you do everything, you do my bidding. Like, no, that's not the full extent of what this is. I was elected to do the role. I was elected to sit in the committees. I was elected to fight for this issue. And I've already heard from the constituents. And so this is a decision I'm making. People respecting that. And that's another learning process that I've seen that the community needs to do on that front. But it's wonderful to hear that. And Leah, one of the things you mentioned about the African American Commission, when I first moved here, I think 2 years in, that commission issued me an award on unsung heroes for the economic pillar, for helping some businesses develop some strategies and stuff. And at first I was shocked. I was like, well, I've only been here for a couple of years, and they offered this award in the state. But then I thought about it. I said, wait a minute, I'm in a place where it's very, very difficult for businesses to grow, for minorities to move around, or I start thinking about the legislator. I can't just pick up and call my senator and call this and just make it happen and make the deal go this way. It's like, no, people here, they have a difficult fight And so to see it, but I remember receiving that award and feeling so honored, and just knowing that coming from another state that you guys had a platform. And so hearing that you were part of that, I really appreciate hearing that and knowing that you were championing that cause, because it was good to connect with other professionals and to be at those and to hear some of those committee hearings and the events and to try to support strategies with them. And so I appreciate that. I want to tell you, as a person coming out of state to here in Arizona, it was a welcoming mat to know that, hey, there's a group that's connected to the governor's office, and there's a direct line if you need to communicate issues in your community. And then it was filled with champions from multiple different communities and different business strategies, that they were all there, whether they were fighting for their own interests or fighting for the community's interests, that they're there representing us in some type of way. So I want to say I appreciate what you did there. And also, I met you before too. You probably remember at the Democratic convention, there was the convention down in Phoenix. I think you were there at the convention, right? Was that? And I think we were in the lobby, and I remember we was coming out of the sessions, and out of the budget hearing, the candidates were giving their speeches about why they should be the chair, and we were in the hallway, and I told you where I was from, and first thing you said to me, you ever thought about running? And I said, well, I live in Gilbert. I said, I did the data analysis, and it ain't a lot of Democrats out here in that area, and the speaker is from that area too, that district. I said, so it's gonna be a hard fight. We'll just be on the ballot. To turn that area to blue is gonna be a difficult.
East Valley is coming. Come on, Corey. Come on, East Valley coming.
About that. I just want to say I remember that.
Hey, OD got a seat. OD Harris got a seat in Channel.
That's right. He sure
Come on.
did. Yeah.
You know, and congratulations to him for his
ago. It was like 4 years ago. It was a different reality. I think they were just areas out here, and it was very, very Republican strong out in this area. It's a little more purple in some areas now. But I remember this to you. First thing you said to me was like, "Hey, you should get involved. You should get engaged." And then you, I remember that conversation in the hallway. So I wanted to bring that up. You probably don't remember. It was like 2016, around June, I think, around that time.
Oh, Leah remembers everybody.
Right. All right. I'm glad. That is what it's all about. Just making sure, to get out there. And the Unsung Hero Award is just for the reason the idea behind that was to make sure that we acknowledged some of the hard works that many folks in the African American community are doing that many people just do not know. So it's an opportunity to do that. And that's one of the criteria for that award, is that everybody in the whole state doesn't know who that person is, but to know what the great works that they're doing. So congratulations. I'm glad about that.
I'd like to ask a question that might be a little bit, down the middle or off to the side, but it's more related to some of the up and coming sisters that are on the ballot right now. We had the pleasure of speaking to Sarah Tyree and writing candidate Shelly Jackson. I just want to get your thoughts on, how you feel about them and what they're doing and what expectations you have for them.
Well, I tell you, as I think of all the ones that are on the list, on that ballot, you have, like you said, Sarah Tyree, you have Whitney Walker, you have Coral Evans, you have Geraldine Peaton. We just keep on going on and on. And the beauty of it all is it's so many that are there. And with that being said, one of the things that I do and have done personally is when I find out the ones that are running, I immediately reach out. I reach out to them. Hey, what is it I can do? Is there anything I can do, to help in any way, if they haven't already reached out to me? And now many of us are on each other's speed dials now, where they can call anytime, I can call them anytime. What can we do to assist and to help? Another thing that we have done is to make sure, and you mentioned with OD and others that have made it through, but we did a series of candidate forums this election cycle. So for a primary election, and then for the general election. So during the primary election, it was for African American candidates that were running. And we partnered in with the Arizona Christian Clergy Coalition, and then also with the new organization, the African American Reconstruction Group. And it's a part, that group is made of college students. And I am just beside myself excited about it, to help in working with them all summer long on things that they could do to assist in this whole effort and movement and politically and what's going on. And so, you know, it's a really exciting thing, but to be able to have that and watch those young individuals host those forums for the elections, for the primary, everybody was able to meet all these candidates that you're talking about. And it's some dynamic individuals. I was talking with Whitney Walker today. This is a chance for her to come into the County Board of Supervisors. A lot of people really do not think about the County Board of Supervisors and how important that seat is and what that's all about. And so to be able to know that she can come in and will be the first African-American woman to have ever served on our Phoenix County Board of Supervisors, that would be outstanding. But to know now, when you look at even like the polls, she's running neck and neck with an incumbent right now. But she's out there, she is working really hard. So you look at all these ones, you know, the Sarah Tyrees, and, you know, and I can't help but think of folks like with Coral Evans, who was in Flagstaff, and now she is just knocking down the doors, trying to get here to the state house. And a lot of times, when you look at things like the state legislature, many African Americans, I would always say, hey, you know, think about running. Corey knows, everybody I meet seems like that's what I say. But think about running, think about getting involved and engaged. The state legislature is in charge of the state budget. We need to make sure that folks are really interested in things like education are running for these offices, because that's the majority of our budget is education. So we want to make sure where's that going and all. So to know that they're all running, to know that they're across this state, it really is. It's music to my ears. I'm so excited to see it, and I've had an opportunity to even host private things for them. Whatever it is that they need to help, I'm here to help. And I'm not just here to talk the talk.